Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 2nd of January, 2024. Happy New Year, everybody. Yay, that's right. On this Tuesday Rant, episode 253, the Crusty Canuck. Topics will be what lies ahead for us in 2024 and random thoughts. That's right. I'm just going to go off the top of my head and just suggest things, find solutions, find viable solutions, all that good stuff. A listener and viewer discretion is advised. I do smoke cigarettes and I do swear. I'll be right back. And that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Tuesday Rant for this 2nd of January, 2024. A new year, new attitude, all that good stuff. You know, I didn't banter and try to promote any kind of New Year's resolution. However, what you see is what you get until I decide to change things around. Welcome all. Welcome everyone. Hope you had a great New Year's. If you like and hear what you see, don't forget to click like and subscribe and share this podcast all over your social media platforms. Help us Canucks get our words out there before C18, C11, and C36 become an actual reality, right? The censorship and all that good stuff that our federal government wants to do in the name of safety and stopping hate speech. I hate taxes. Do I get dinged for that? YouTube? Anyone? Anyone? Can anyone justify, anyone? Bueller? Anyway, enough of that crap. Anyway, what's in store for us for 2024? Well, you heard my predictions subtly there last week in regards to what I think is going to happen. So we can already talk about inflation. We can already talk about a lack of defense spending, lack of security, the debts that are going on, and more propositions in regards to banning more plastics, forcing EVs down our throats, making sure that we're doing our part for the environment, even though there's another 82, I think, projected coal fired plants that are going to be made in China as we speak. But hey, let China do its thing and let Canada do its thing. However, we have politicians in this country that don't want Canada to succeed. Why? Because they like the monopoly and they like the control. That's just my projection, ladies and gentlemen. What do you say out there, my wonderful people? Okay? I also want to thank some people from South Carolina, Texas, Florida, Ohio, California, Oregon, and there's a couple of other states there that have downloaded my podcast. So thank you very much to my American listeners and friends out there. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much for taking the chance and listening to a Canuck like me to get my point of view out there, to get some kind of insight into the issues that are affecting North America as we speak today. So I'm not going to dwell on American news. However, I will dwell in the Canadiana things because this is our country, ladies and gentlemen, and we have to fight to protect it and look after it. Now, New Year's Eve was a pretty cool time. My wife and I were out with some friends, had some nice dinners, played some cards, had a couple of drinks. We didn't go overboard, probably because my body can't take the abuse like it used to at one time. But needless to say, it was good just to reflect and in a way to be thankful for what we have. My wife and I are both gainfully employed. We both pay our bills. We both pay our fair share of taxes. You've heard me rant and rave and rumble about that over and over again, but we do. And we're just starting to get ahead. Just starting. Okay? Just a little bit. But it's not enough. Right? It's not enough. It's not enough because when I look at what I work for and how much taxes I pay, when I look at my pay stub every 2 weeks, I should be at least triple ahead of what I have right now. Now, I'm not going to give away any numbers because it's my business. Needless to say, it should be up there a little higher. Now, I've just got off X there, and I had some debates with somebody, and I've had one person add me to a page they want to call Canadian fascist, which I'm honored, but I'm not a fascist, you silly clown. I'm what you call a libertarian. I want people to live their lives, to be free to do what they want to do, and to be good at it without any government interference. Now, if that makes me a fascist, then I guess, buddy, you have missed the 20th century. Somewhere, somehow. And you're still living in mom's basement, having a hot pocket and jerking off to Baywatch. But that's just me, though. What do I know? Anyhow, if you like and hear what you see, ladies and gentlemen, you can also subscribe to the Crusty Cut podcast on Podbean, Rumble, Spotify, Amazon, Supercast, a Canadian company, by the way, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Podchaser, and Apple. And if you like and hear what you see even more, you want to donate something, there'll be links in my description where you can donate gracefully. There's a new leaf I want to turn for this year, ladies and gentlemen. I will ask if you guys can donate, if you can. And you don't have to donate much. Every little bit helps. Doesn't matter if you give $1 a month or $5 a month or $10 a month, whatever you want to give. By all means, please donate to the podcast. Help me keep this on the air. Keep this, well, on the net at least. And help me keep creating some great content and tell you my stories, my points of view, all that good stuff too. I've been at it for a while now. And I really need to get ahead. But it takes wonderful people like you out there to make that happen. I'm not going to beg. I'll still keep the podcast on for free. That's not a problem. But if you want to give something, by all means, give something. Like I said, if you want to give $1 a month, $2 a month, $5 or $10 a month or more, that is on you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll leave that up to you. There's links in my description where you can donate accordingly, and we'll just go from there. Like I say, anyway, carrying on with this episode of the Tuesday Rant with Crusty Canuck. Topics: what lies ahead for 2024 and random thoughts. So this is my best projection what's going to happen in 2024. We are constantly going to get dinged again, I think, with the taxes and the inflation and constantly being told we have to do our part for the environment, right? There's a little video here from Twitter or X from Ryan Williams. He's a PC rep out of the Bay of Quinte, Ontario, who questions Frankie Champagne, in regards to about plastics being banned throughout grocery stores, which is going to make it harder for us to buy groceries. Anyway, excuse me, I'll let you, ladies and gentlemen, sit and watch and decide on your own what you think is the proper thing to do. Oh, sorry. I preempted that. I didn't mean to jump the gun, but you decide, ladies and gentlemen, on what should be a better solution in regards to plastics in this country. I'll give you my rant and ramble after the video, but you watch the video and tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to what Mr. Williams is standing up for and what's he saying. So you can decide and go from there. Right? I'll just cue it up here and we can have ourselves a little chat about what's going on. Right.
Really focused on the industry, the manufacturers, the farmers, the truckers. There's a plastic package ban coming. It's part of the Supreme Court deemed it unconstitutional. We'll see what happens. But in the grocery store, that's going to mean elimination of all plastic in the fruit and the vegetable sections and prepared food. The industry's come back to say that's going to cost the grocery industry $6 billion, which will mean a 30% increase of food costs. Can you comment on that? I'm sure you met with the grocers. They've expressed it to us. I'm sure they expressed it to you. How is that going to make companies more competitive with food prices in Canada?
Well, I think somehow, Mr. Williams, we can do both. We can both protect the environment and have more affordability and competition in the country. To your point, I have talked even to the industry, not only to the large manufacturer, the grocer, but also to the industry writ large. And I understand, and I've been engaging with them to listen to their concerns and make sure that on one end, whilst we protect the environment, that we also have meaningful regulation that will continue to protect consumers, but at the same time that will maintain competition in this country. I would say that this bill is probably a cornerstone, I would think, in terms of the affordability and how we can help Canadian consumers. And that's why I'm so happy and keen to see you at the committee today.
Okay, well, he just didn't answer the question. Did you see that? Did you hear that? He didn't answer the question. He talked about regulation and affordability. Well, that was the question that he asked for. What do you propose? What's going on here? So needless to say, Happy New Year. More fuckery about. Oh my God, here we go.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And that's right, ladies and gentlemen, you're back to episode 253, the Tuesday Rant with Crusty Canuck. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. Yes, topics, what lies ahead for 2024, random thoughts, and Happy New Year out there to everybody, too. And a big thank you out there to the fine people at Northern Perspective once again for hosting a great live stream they did last week on the 27th I had an awesome time talking with the likes of Tamara Litch, Vesper, Marty Up North, Clyde Do Something, Construction Cronies, right? I had a great time talking with everybody, and Barnaby, and of course, Cypher and Fox, the fine people who host, own, and operate Northern Perspective. A round of applause for you all there. You guys are awesome. I had a great talk. We should do this again. Maybe I can host something, or you can host something. I'll bring something. You bring something. Oh, it's one big party. Oh, joy. But you know what I'm getting at anyway. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the positive feedback I've had from some of you individuals who sent me some emails. So please keep sending me those emails and comments too. Every time I post something on the Tube and or Rumble, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and comment too. It helps generate the algorithm, gets it out there, and let other people can see and watch and all this too, and just get their own information, formulate their own decisions, and be informed from another point of view too. Plus, you stand up for Canadians like myself when you do that. So please share my content all over. Don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and give me a comment every time you see a Crusty Canuck video or podcast on the Tube or Rumble or any other place where you find it. Anyway, carrying on again with the Tuesday Rant. What lies ahead for 2024? Yes, well, I'll tell you this. Doesn't look good in Ukraine, but I'm not going to sit and dwell and worry about combat and chaos, because I had enough of that crap when I was in Afghan. But I do see some similarities coming our way. I don't know if it's going to hit Canada. I don't know if it's going to hit our friends in the South, in the United States or Mexico. But I'm seeing a lot of turmoil and a lot of ungrateful attitudes out there when it comes to individuals who have lived here in this country for a very, very long time and who don't appreciate the simple things. Now, I got into a little spat there on Threads. I'm on the Threads feed there. And there was an individual who kept talking to me about white privilege. I don't know about you, but I never had a card, or I never got easy access to things because of the color of my skin. I got access to things because I earned a position. I had access to things because I worked for what I have. And when you actually talk about the term privilege, I guess if you have a roof over your head and a job and some friends in your lives, and they watch your six and you watch their six, I guess you have privilege. So that doesn't mean you have to be a certain color to have privilege, right? So those individuals out there that constantly wave that flag of victimhood and blame whitey for your problems, take a look at yourself in the mirror and realize how much prejudice you have before you denote or talk about any kind of colored privilege, because there's no such thing. And there's individuals that constantly promote this whole fragility thing. I'm not fragile. My bones aren't brittle. I don't have any kind of condition that stops me from going out and working and standing up for what's right. So there's no fragility there, just fucking reality. And I highly suggest all you victimhood wannabes out there, get a grip on that. Because by the time you hit 30, 35, and 40, everything you know will tumble down and bite you in the ass. It will. It will. Right? You might get divorced. You might lose a job. You might lose that investment when it comes to green technology. And then you might have to wake up and have a bitter sense of a reality sandwich. Taste the booger flavor, right? Quote Chris Rock from that movie. What was it, Chainsaw and Bob Strike Back? Yeah. Taste the booger flavor. Taste your own booger flavor, right? So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. So my prediction for a good part of 2024 is not just the inflation and the ridiculous plastic issues that our government keeps ramming down our throats, but the sense of entitlement that's going around. And it's not just geared towards one generation. I've met boomers, I've seen Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Z alike talk about what they're entitled to. Okay. As far as I know, you're not entitled to anything other than what you create or work for. Okay. Now, when you look at our Charter and Rights and Freedoms that were, compromised from 2021 till, the latter part of 2022, makes you think. Who really cares about you, me, your friends, your family, your way of life, your sanctity, your harmony, your respect, your personal space, and your boundaries? A lot of people don't. So it's up to us now to fight for it. And I think there's a fight coming pretty damn fucking soon for that. for freedom of speech. Like I've said before, I am a free speech absolutist. I don't care what you believe in. You want to protest something, you go protest something. I don't care what flag you wave. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you represent this party, this group, that group. By all means, by all means. But what I'm seeing here is that there are individuals that have protested and said some heinous things in the past 6 months. Something about Jews, something about Muslims, something about Christians. And yet there's no tickets being tossed out to people because of that. There's no warnings or quarantines given to individuals who have said that. Yet there are a lot of quarantines and warnings that were given to people that stood up in the Freedom Convoy, that stood up and promoted the Freedom Convoy. So you're seeing a contrast here too. So I think this year will be a year where people like you, your neighbors, your friends, my neighbors, my friends, and myself will stand and hold these bureaucrats and politicians to account. Very well. And the way it should be. There are ways we can do things without the violence, because I personally don't want to see the violence. There's a lot of people out there who want to see what goes on in my head on a regular basis. You talk to any vet that spent time in a war zone. Doesn't matter if it's Afghan. Doesn't matter if it's Iraq. Doesn't matter if it's parts of Africa. Doesn't matter. You will know what kind of things dance around in the night as you lie in slumber. What kind of thoughts pop into your head sometimes. And when you see some of these kids, and I will say kids, quote unquote, because they may be 25, they may be 30, but they act like little kids, talk about revolution and talk about tearing this down and smashing that down. Do you honestly think they have what it takes to fight the good fight if someone handed them a rifle? Do you honestly think they have what it takes if someone gave them a sharp, pointy stick and they started poking people in the butts with it? Do you think they'd follow through? Do you think they'd know how to handle it? Do you think they could cope? No, they just go cry because they're scared of words.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Crusty Canuck podcast, the Tuesday Rant with yours truly, Crusty Canuck. Topics, what lies ahead for 2024, and random thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Crusty Canuck, and if you like and hear what you see, please click like and subscribe. And if you do see this podcast on the Tube or Rumble, give me a thumbs up, give me a comment or two, get the algorithm going, help us Canucks out, get our words out there so the federal government doesn't get offended and poop their pants because they don't like certain words we say. Whew, now I can take a breath. Anyway, carrying on. So my predictions for 2024 is this: we're going to have to stand higher, stand firmer, stand stronger, and really get in the faces of these leaders and bureaucrats alike. Because like the video I just showed you about regulations, how many more regulations do we need when it comes to growing food? How many more regulations do we need to go buying food? Right? How many more regulations? Regulations. The bigger the government, the more the regulations. And how is that helping the greater good? It's helping line their pockets, make them feel better because they think they're making a difference, when really half of these clowns have their groceries bought for them, right? Things done for them, rub their feet, give them a slap and a kiss and a reach around. You know how that works, right? Yeah. Maybe drop a few rails in the dashboard, get a few snorts in, and then try to conquer the day by telling us what to do yet again. So that's the way I look at government, ladies and gentlemen. Not the government I fought for. They don't represent the Canada I fought for. They don't. They represent the greed, the guilt, the projected guilt, the self-flagellation they're trying to promote with us. And I don't trust them. Right? There was a viewer that asked a question to Cypher and Fox on the 27th in regards to what if the Poilievre conservatives were doing the exact same thing as the Trudeau liberals. I would question them too. I would be just as hard on them, or maybe even harder than I have been on the JT liberals and that brand of politics and policies, right? I would be in an effing heartbeat. There's no excuse, right? In a parliamentary system, you have to think the party is going to do what it's supposed to do to govern properly. But like I've said on that show too, not the party, not the person, but the constituents and the country. Okay. My American friends can honestly agree with that too, because it's not up to the governor. It's not up to your Senate. It's up to what you guys want. Is not the way it should be? Isn't that what's written on the papers? Isn't that how it's supposed to be, you would think? When Oliver Cromwell was questioning the king, when the American revolutionaries questioned the king, isn't that not the way it's supposed to be? Right? The Magna Carta was written for a reason, because they didn't want any more monarchies calling the shots for people, not for the common people. And regardless of what history has told you, or the new history has told you, right? We've got to be a little more sensible and realistic. Yes, there are some dark chapters in both of our histories. Canada was not fair to the First Nations. I know. The United States was not fair to their First Nations. We know. Britain, France, Spain, Portugal was really unfair. But then they were conquerors at the time. They were building empires at that time. Where do you think they learned from? The Romans, the Mongols, the ancient Greeks, the ancient Egyptians. There have been empires that have come and gone, and still we have to hang on to this ridiculous history about empires and colonialism. Look in your wallet, like I've said before. If you got a few bucks in your wallet, it's because you've either earned it or it's been given to you, hence colonialism. I'm not saying you're a British colonist because you look at the Queen's tender, or soon the King's tender, but you have the ability in this country to think for yourself, to do what's good for you, to build a house if you want to. It's going to take some time because it's fucking ridiculous. Because of government regulations, it's made it that harder. But I think you know my point. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. My wife and I, we got lucky. I know that's not privilege. We got lucky. We counted our lucky stars. We found this place and we added more to it. So we upped the value of that if we ever want to put it in the market. But we're not going to sell our place now because that just be stupid. Right? So we're happy with what we have. And we're grateful for what you have. I'm very grateful for what I have. I have a good job. I work for some good people. I have a good life. Why? Because I made it happen. What's your excuse? You can blame this white man here. You can blame that woman over there. You're going to blame that police officer. You're going to blame that soldier. You're going to blame the first 10 years of this decade or that decade, or what happened in the 1860s, 1920s, 1930s. You're going to blame what happened in the 40s. Or you're going to grab yourself by the bootstraps, take a look at yourself and say, yeah, I can effing do this. It's that simple. And there's a hell of a lot more options out there for you as an individual right now as we speak than there was when our parents were in their 20s. And a hell of a lot more options out there for us than when our grandparents were in their 20s. When my grandfather was in his 20s, he was flying in a Lancaster. My other grandfather was fighting the Germans in Holland. I had another uncle that was fighting the Chinese in Korea. And I've met some people over the past couple of years that have given me some great insight on their involvement in the Vietnam War. So when you sit and scream to the heavens because you don't like this politician, you don't like this certain podcaster, you don't like this media, you don't like that media, and you're screaming and just cringing, you're obviously ungrateful and you don't care because you think comfort's more important than reality. You think comfort's more important than the security you have to sit and scream about the discomfort. So your contrast is all fucked up, eh? You got it all wrong. Don't like your tone, eh? To quote Christopher Walken. Great actor, by the way. Great actor. You got it all wrong. No. Take a look at your family. Take a look at what's around you. What made you go to university to study a certain subject? What prompted you to do that? What got you there? Your own free will, your own intestinal fortitude, or access to a student loan brought to you by the Canadian taxpayer that made it happen for you? Because our grandparents never had student loans. They never had business loans. They didn't have EI. They didn't have welfare systems. They had elbow grease, determination, and the will to live. Unfortunately, it took a Second World War to bring the economy back up and running again, to get things moving again. That's what's in store for us? right? In order to get the economies back up and running again, we're going to need a third world war to put people to work. Is there going to be a draft, a conscription? We're going to have hundreds of thousands of volunteers step up to the plate and say, we're going to fight this tyranny. Time will tell, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, here's a video of our Prime Minister talking to Mercedes Stevens from Global News there. Our friends of the True North put this together. And I really want you to sit and listen to how he talks about world policy and defense in this country, and especially listen to who he likes to blame for that too. Okay? I'll just cue it up and you decide, ladies and gentlemen. You decide exactly what this, pardon my French, ass clown, our Prime Minister, really likes to say about security in this country. And I want you to know the similarities too. Note the similarities between him and his father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau. You decide.
Having 3 days worth of ammunition if a war to break out, to not having tanks that function, and those that are overseas in Latvia, and the government has not made efforts to replace them. They point to $1 billion coming in defense cuts. They point to you allegedly, privately saying that we'll never hit 2% of GDP.
Okay, well, those examples are all specifically on defense. What I'm talking about is the large international frame. But even on defense, we have since 2017 stepped up with about 70% increases on our defense spending. We're going to continue to do more and more in defense. We just announced a $38 billion NORAD modernization. We're stepping up with F-35s. Yes, we've had to make up for lost time when under the Conservative government, defense spending dipped below 1% for the only time.
But you've been in power for 8 years. You said you'd never buy the F-35s, which was part of the delay there. And your own chief of the defense staff is saying that if there were to be a war tomorrow, Canada would be in big trouble. Yeah. Isn't that on you after 8 years in power?
Everyone is in big trouble because we have been shipping, all of us as allies, as NATO allies, shipping massive amounts of ammunition to Ukraine right now because Ukraine is on the front line of defending not just their own territory, but their international rules-based order. And that's why we are so unequivocal on Ukraine. And quite frankly, even yes, as we're fixing those procurement challenges to make sure we are getting more ammunition for Canada, for training, continuing to be there for Ukraine, despite the hesitations by the Conservative Party, is the best way to protect our future as a country and our system of democracy.
But Canadian soldiers are looking at this and saying we can't protect our country right now.
Right. We are continuing to do that. We are continuing to invest in our front lines, in our equipment for our military, as people expect us to, but we're doing it in a responsible way.
Oh. What do you say about that, ladies and gentlemen? The old saying, crack don't smoke itself, comes to mind, or some people's kids. Or, that's what happens when you go to a boxing match with ballet slippers instead of actual gloves.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Tuesday Rant with Crusty Canuck. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. This is episode 253. Wow, 253 episodes I have made of this podcast since its inception back in 2018. Topics of today's episode, what lies ahead for 2024, and random thoughts. So I've done a bit of both, what I think lies ahead and what my random thoughts might be. Here's a random thought. Hemp production. Let's talk about hemp production. What can you make from hemp? Clothing, fuel, food, building materials, right? Something to think about, ladies and gentlemen. Another random thought. What are we going to do about the projected racism that keeps being thrown in our throats all the time, pushed in our faces? People shaking their fingers in front of us, calling us this, calling us that. How about we fight it with positivity, saying, no, we're not racist. We're not bigots. We're human fucking beings, and we'll treat you like a human being. Just act like it. It's that simple. You're good to me, I'm good to you. It's that simple. Period. You're nice to me, I'm nice to you. You want to be a dick? Well, fine. I'll just walk away and leave you alone. I'll go bother somebody else. That simple. That's just a random thought. He talks about defense. He talks about blaming the Hopper government, Mr. JT, Mr. Sockboy, Potato, Mr. Nepotist himself. Yeah, he doesn't care about defense of this nation, right? I've had people say, but Crusty, you're a libertarian. Why do you want defense so much? Because we need a robust military to protect our liberty, to protect that liberty that you and I should have, right? To protect our money, to protect our investments, to protect our way of life here in this country. And you need a robust military to do it. Now, I'm not saying we have to be like the Americans and have 20 aircraft carriers and 36 nuclear subs at any given time, or a fleet upon fleet of fighter jets. No, but what we need is a military that can go from point A to point B to get the job done if need be. You know, to defend these waters, to defend our borders, to defend who we are. And heaven forbid, if there's a call up someplace where God can you give us a hand here? Then we'd have the ability to do it rather than lame ass excuses that our prime minister has given. Because I saw the schematics in regards to how much ammo this country has if there's an issue. And people are thinking about it, thinking, okay, what's going to happen to us in the next 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, maybe sooner. And we don't have the means to do it because we have bean counters and bureaucrats that love their regulation calling the shots in Ottawa, especially when our senior brass has told these individuals what the outlook is looking like. I remember back in 2007 and 8, I believe, where the Liberal backbenchers were all upset because Mr. Harper purchased the Globemaster aircraft. Oh my God, we're peacekeepers. Oh my God, we don't need this. Oh my God, we don't need that. We can just rent an aircraft. Really? So it goes to show that there's still some Liberal backbenchers out there that are out of touch. And now it's affected the prime minister when it comes to making decisions, when it comes to securing this country, right? So I don't know where we're heading, ladies and gentlemen, but it looks a little more positive, but I have some good feelings about this year. And regardless if I if I put a downer in your morning cereal or not, my apologies. That was not my intent for this episode. My intent was just to give my point of view and for you all out there, you wonderful people, to think about it and to realize what we can do to make things better in our lives. So like I said, the hard questions, put these politicians to account, the bureaucrats account too. And if they don't have time to talk to you, then they better make time, because you out there, my wonderful fans, my wonderful people, you make the calls, you send the emails and the snail mail, and you let them know you're pissed and you're just not going to take it anymore. It's that simple. I'm not condoning anybody to smash private property or public property. I'm not condoning any kind of violence, but stand your ground, period. Right? As Tamara Litch said, hold the line, stand by what's right, stand what's by your family, your friends, and what's good for this democracy. It's okay to disagree with somebody. It's okay to agree with somebody. It's okay to let somebody protest this and protest that, just as long as you're not hurting people taking their stuff. But we've seen numerous times how our government has stepped in, hurt us, and try to take our stuff. Time for us to take it back, ladies and gentlemen. It's that simple. Anyway, I've been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 2nd of January, 2024. Happy New Year. Happy times all around. Anyhow, enough of that horn stuff there. I wish nothing but good things for you too. I am back to my regular work schedule come tomorrow. So I'll be 10 days off, 10 days on again and 4 days off. So I will have an episode next Tuesday, another Tuesday rant for you all out there. And if time does permit, I might have another episode this weekend. We'll see. That's if time permits or not. But I can't promise anything. But please stay posted on my YouTube page, Rumble, and my Facebook page, especially in regards to what's coming your way next little while. Like I said, I'll have a Tuesday rant up and ready for you next week, next Tuesday, around maybe hopefully the same time or a bit later. But stay tuned for that. And I hope everyone had a great Christmas and a great New Year. I know I did. Things will get better. You know, I don't want to sound biblical, but these things shall pass and we shall overcome it and do what we can to help each other out, especially in these trying times. And just do what you can. Just try to stay positive, folks. You know, I don't have all the answers here, but the best thing I can suggest is that we just stand our ground, stand for what's right, stand for democracy, stand for freedom, and just stand for sensibility, common sense. That is all. Like I said, I've been Crusty Canuck in this beautiful 2nd of January. 2024, a new year, new leaf, whatever you want to say, but we shall persevere. And like I always say, ladies and gentlemen, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.
Oh, give me that Christmas goose. Happy New Year.